Hey, what's up, guys? Back with another tier list here, and it is a NHL team ranking tier list, and I think we should just go ahead and dive into it. Yeah, let's just go ahead and dive into it. This is pre-free agency, so not a lot of this is going to be accurate. We're going to have to acknowledge the fact that some of these teams have not signed or traded the players they want, so this is going to be, it's probably going to turn out to be pretty bad later, but, we'll just go with it. So, we'll go ahead and go. Let's add a row below the F tier, and let's go. So, Anaheim Ducks. Anaheim should be pretty mid. Anaheim would be right in the middle of the pack, in my opinion. I think Anaheim has a team that should be on the rising, but I do think they have a team of too many veterans, and they have a team which cannot be consistent. If Anaheim kept the consistency, I think they'd already be a playoff team right now, but I think Anaheim just can't keep consistency the way they need to. So, I've been hearing a lot of rumors about Mitch Marner and John Tavares joining Anaheim. But we're not going to talk about free agents this video. So, knowing that the Anaheim Ducks, we don't know what they're going to do, considering we do not know right now, Anaheim, I will put at a C tier. I think that's a pretty reasonable place to put them. Let's go ahead and rename these tiers here, because just the letters are just very, very boring. I do the same format I did 2 years ago in a video. Good lord, 2023. Wow. Anyway. Yeah, this is on the bubble. No, I put Anaheim on the bubble act. No. Right below the bubble. That's a good way to put it. Horrible. Rebuilding. Yeah. Rebuilding's now worse than horrible. Yeah, Anaheim goes right below the bubble. They might get in. They might sneak in this year, but I'm not counting on it. So, Ducks there. And we have the Boston Bruins. Okay, so the Boston Bruins, after a horrible season, let me tell you. Horrible. I do not know, and I do not see a redemption year. I'm saying right below the bubble, like Anaheim. I think they're going to be a very mid team. Definitely think they're going to be better than last year. I don't think they'll be any worse, but it's just weird for see Boston that bad, and it really fathomed me. So, I can't see Boston getting any worse than what they were. And I do see Boston trying to get into a playoff spot, but I don't think they'll get in there. And I think Boston is a really mid team like Anaheim. Buffalo, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to put you in horrible. I can't count on you to make the playoffs if you're going to come up just short every season. And last season you were horrible. So I can't put you right below the bubble or bubble. I mean, you had the chance to make the playoffs every year. You come up short, and last year you had your year where you just sucked. Blatantly sucked. Now I have to put you in horrible because you're a team that doesn't really build in the offseason, and you're a team that is inconsistent. That's all I really have to say for that Buffalo team. Yeah, I'm sorry, Buffalo. Now Calgary. Calgary, another mid-team. But considering they almost made the playoffs last season, I will put Calgary on the bubble. I think Calgary is a team that is building. I think Calgary is a team that should be in the playoffs. But consistency gets Calgary. And Calgary seems to find themselves always on the bubble. And I know Calgary has a lot of veterans, but those veterans know how to perform, and they need to start performing. And I think if Calgary has a pretty good amount of guys performing to their top guys, and considering they might have some pretty good free agents under their belt, I think Calgary's right there on a playoff spot, and they potentially make it. So, yes, I will put Calgary on the bubble for this year. Now, moving on to Carolina. I definitely do have them a playoff log. I think Carolina's going to be in the playoffs for many years to come. I don't care if they're going to live for regions. I think Carolina's always there. But you all know why I can't put them in cup contenders. They can never get it past the Eastern Conference Final. And it's the same old story for Carolina. Unless they do something major in free agency, like sign Mitch Marner or something, I can't see Carolina going to the Cup. I can't see them getting past either Florida or Toronto. So, I mean, you got to consider these things when you're thinking about Carolina, especially. They're not a Stanley Cup final team. Now, Chicago. Chicago, you know what? I'm actually going to put them right below the bubble. I think Chicago they're really desperate here. And you got to think long term and how Chicago wants to come back and be in the playoffs conversation. I think Chicago has a good team building. Definitely not a great looking roster, but the talent is hidden. It is hidden somewhere in that roster, and Connor Bedard should lead the way. He should be that good captain they want him to be, and he needs to be a leader. And, he's definitely the best player on that team. But everyone can perform better than what they do. Everyone can perform better. There's always room for improvement for everybody. So definitely Bedard probably should step it up this year. And I do think if he gets the right teammates, you got Burakovsky, a good NHL veteran, and I think if you do get some good teammates, some good line chemistry and pairing, I think Chicago could improve a pretty good bit this year. Don't see them making the playoffs, but I do see them right under the bubble, like Anaheim and Boston. Moving on to Colorado. Oh, boy. Yeah. Colorado, definitely a playoff lock. They should be in the playoffs for a long time to come. It's going to become obvious. You can't put them in cup contenders, though, because the past few seasons, they can't get over the hump. They seem to always have an enemy coming towards their way that always is able to best them. It's unfortunate for Colorado and the team they have, and especially losing Rantanen last year. I think that bumped their cup chances back a little bit, and losing to Dallas in the first round. Colorado is such a good team, but you got to consider the things that happen in the playoffs, and you can't put Colorado in cup yet. So I definitely have Colorado for playoff lock, and that's basically what I have to say for them. The Columbus Blue Jackets. Oh boy, here we go. They really improved from last year. And especially with all the crap they went on, they really showed desperation to wanting to make the playoffs. They made a huge push. They almost got past Montreal for that last playoffs, but unfortunately they couldn't do it. But I do have Columbus here on the bubble. I think Columbus is a team that is in the wild card place. I do think they have a really good team coming with them. And I don't think that they are the same old mid-team they used to have. I think Columbus is a rising team in the making. I think they should be a pretty good playoff team for years to come. And if they make the playoffs this year, watch out. They're going to be coming. Dallas. Okay. Dallas. And I'm always going to have Dallas at cup contenders. You know why. I think Dallas has a great team, great chemistry, but they will be losing a core piece, it seems, in Jamie Benn. But I do think Dallas still has a lot of chemistry, and I do think they have a lot of talent on that team. That's why I'm always going to keep them at cup contenders. They always seem to find a way to get deep into the playoffs. They're a better team than Carolina in getting to the cup. I think they are, even though they're both similar, can't get past the conference finals. But I do think Dallas is a better cup contender than Carolina. That's why I'm putting them in cup contenders. I think Dallas is just a really good team overall, and I think they're right here. Detroit. Okay. Detroit had a really pretty disappointing year last year. Expected to make a playoff push, and needless to say, that playoff push did not happen. And I think Detroit fans were really upset it did not happen. It really, probably, I would say, really bumped their confidence in very low. But now, I think Detroit knows that it's kind of desperation time to make the playoffs. And I think they will up it up a little bit. And that's why I think Detroit should be right on the bubble. I think Detroit is really right there. And if they're able to get past the hump this year, I think Detroit might squeeze into the playoffs. And I think Detroit really trying to make a playoff push is really their main goal here. So I think they really have to play, and I think that's what they're going to do. Considering they could sign some pretty good free agents, I do think Detroit is right on that bubble spot with those other two teams in Calgary and Columbus. It should be a great race in the Eastern Conference again, and it should be a great race in the Western Conference because you're going to see other teams coming up. Edmonton, oh boy, another year of heartbreak to the dang Florida Panthers. It's another unfortunate year for Edmonton. They lost earlier this year. Rather than losing 7 games, they lost in 6, which is a very disappointing fashion. You would think they would put up more of a fight, but nevertheless, I still do have Edmonton in Cup contenders. It is tough to see them. Yeah, it's tough to see them lose, but I can't see Edmonton not going away. I can't see Edmonton going away. It's almost, yeah, it's tough to see that. You gotta think about the core, and if it is somehow McDavid's last year, he's gonna be playing with desperation, and he's gonna be playing to get his first Stanley Cup, and he wants to do it in Edmonton. You know he does. He has the passion for that city. But unfortunately for Edmonton, if it is his last year, I do think that Edmonton will really be playing for desperation here in hopes of getting him back and getting him a Stanley Cup before he might depart Edmonton. So, yeah, Edmonton should still be Cup contenders. The Florida Panthers, it's another year for Florida, back-to-back years, very similar to Tampa. Dominance, dynasties, really tough for the league to get past Florida. And Florida is going to be losing most likely 2 of the good players that made them a playoff push. You got Bennett, Marchand, and Ekblad on expiring deals. I think it should become very clear, and there shouldn't be any speculation. Bennett should be the guy they have to re-sign in order to keep a great team and great chemistry. That's exactly what I think they're going to do. But assuming they do re-sign at least Bennett, I think Florida. I really do think Florida is still a Cup contender. I think they're going to be Cup contenders for years to come. What is going on my phone? But yeah, I really do think they're Cup contenders from years to come. It's a dynasty there in Florida, Miami, and I mean, you can't escape it. Florida's just a great dynasty. They have a great team built. No one could get past them this year, and I mean, if you still have most of the team you had this year, no one's going to be able to beat you. So, unfortunately for the league, Florida's going to be a good team still. I mean, there's no denying it. The LA Kings, boy. LA has not been able to get past the first round in forever. And while I do say that, I think the Kings probably will take a step back from loss of confidence. Losing 4 straight years, or 3 straight, whatever it is. Was it 4 straight? Something like 3 or 4 straight years in the first round to the Edmonton Oilers. It's becoming a rivalry now. And I think it always has, but LA, I do unfortunately see them only being on the bubble. I think LA is just not as good as a team. They are so good in the regular season usually. And it's unfortunate they can't show for it in the playoffs. If they were to show for it in the playoffs, I definitely see them being a cup contender. But unfortunately for LA, they are not a playoff team. And I do think those players are probably going to step down. You got to look at their age. Ante Kopitar, Drew Doughty. You can't keep these guys forever. So unfortunately for LA, I do think it's going to be a wild card year, and I think it's going to be a very right on the line year for LA. Desperation. So that's how I have LA at this spot. The Minnesota Wild. Oh boy, Minnesota was one of the top teams in the regular season last year, then fell off. Can't show for it in the playoffs, and it's unfortunate. But I do still have Minnesota for playoff lock. I think Minnesota, I do think they might take a little step down by maybe losing Marco Rossi. And Marco Rossi is a really good talent. Fortunately for them, I don't think he is coming back. Assuming that, I do have Minnesota being a playoff lock. But if they still had a team, like last year, I would put them in cup contenders. But they can't keep consistency. That's what they showed last year. They were top 3 at one point. They ended up being the best team in the league at one point. Unfortunately for them, consistency got to them and they couldn't keep it. So unfortunately, I don't think they're cup contenders right now, but I do think they are still a good playoff lock. Montreal surprised everyone last year by making the playoffs. They made a huge push at the end of the regular season. Everyone was watching. Everyone knew that Montreal was a playoff team at the end of the year, especially with getting Demidov now. He stepped up at the end of the year, came up to Montreal, and did some numbers. Fortunately for them, they got first rounded by the Washington Capitals, but I don't think that is going to lose morale. I do think they are definitely on the bubble, but I do think they are really right on there. I don't think they are a playoff lock yet. I think they need to acquire some more players, some more skill. You have Suzuki and Caulfield really carrying a lot of that weight on that team. And you got Lane Hudson, Calder Trophy winner. I mean, that is a great achievement for a defenseman as a rookie. And you got to consider how good Montreal might be in these next few years. I think Montreal is a really rising team, but I don't know if they're going to be able to get past some of these other teams in the East that are competing for that other wild card spot. So unfortunately for Montreal, I don't have them in playoff luck, but I do have them in basically the same position they had last year. The Nashville Predators, oh boy, expected to be a top team in the league last year, signing Marchessault, Stamkos, and Brady Shea. Well, they did not have the year they wanted to have last year. They were 30th in the league finished last year. Nashville had one of the weirdest years in franchise history. Not making the playoffs. Nashville is usually a playoff team, and they usually are just always sticking around for the playoffs, but they never get far. And unfortunately for Nashville, a lot of these guys are getting old, and a lot of these guys are not going to stay good forever. And it's really unfortunate they couldn't make the playoffs last year, because if they did, I think they would have been a great team to compete for the Cup. And unfortunately for Nashville, I don't think that's going to really get them much better. I don't think without that many moves, you're not going to get much better. I will say they will improve, but they're going to be right below the bubble. I think they're going to be that 25 to 20-ish range in the league standings. Fortunately, I do not see them making it, but I do see them improving. And improvement is always great for any team. So, Nashville, don't be too sad. If your team is improving, you can keep these players around, you should be a playoff team in the next few years. The New Jersey Devils. Oh, boy. New Jersey. An injury-plagued year. Yeah, another injury-plagued year. But this year for the Devils, I think something's different. I think without the injuries, and I think with the good players you have, I think New Jersey, you're going to be a cup contender. you look at this roster and you look at Jack Hughes, you have Jesper Bratt, you have Dougie Hamilton, you have a lockdown goaltender in the pipes. That's a good team right there. That's good for core. And I think New Jersey, their problem is injury plays. And I think if New Jersey keeps going in the direction that they're going, New Jersey should be a great team. But it's kind of on the borderline right now for me for Cup contenders and playoff lock. But I will put the New Jersey Devils in Cup contenders. For why not? Because they are a team severely underrated in my opinion. All they need to do is stay healthy and keep consistency going into the playoffs. The New York Islanders. Man, what a story for them already this offseason. They are considering trading Noah Dobson, their best player, but they do get the number 1 overall pick. And New York Islanders are so mid, and I think, unfortunately for them, they can't seem to get over the hump, over the bubble. In the last few years, they have been able to make the playoffs, not last year, but they always be either first-rounded or just barely miss the playoffs. And the New York Islanders are really kind of getting desperate here. You know, they traded away one of their best players in Brock Nelson, and, you know, it was kind of a downfall for the New York Islanders last year, considering how good they were just a few years prior. I think the New York Islanders are going to get better. I do think they are right there on the bubble. Another team competing for that wild card spot, but I do not think that they are going to go far. Sorry, New York Islanders fans, but I don't think your team is that... I'm sorry, but if your players can't step up and your players can't stop getting injured, I unfortunately think that you just can't do the things you want to do with that team. That's why I have the New York Islanders on the bubble. The New York Rangers, oh boy, so similar to Boston last year. And let me tell you, the Rangers are in shambles, trading away 2 of their best veterans, Jacob Trouba last season and Chris Kreider this season. And unfortunately, I don't think they got that great of a return. And I think the New York Rangers are really kind of getting desperate here. And I think that, you know, they got to start thinking, what young talent are we going to get? You know, I think they honestly probably would trade Mika Zibanejad soon. They got to think about young talent here, and they do not have a lot of it. Think about Panarin next year. He's going to be a free agent. You don't re-sign him, and he's getting older too. Igor is 30. It's tough to say, but I think the Rangers are starting to becoming an old team, and I think that's part of what happened to them last year. Age has been getting to them, and talent and laziness for the Rangers. But I do think they will not nearly be as bad as the team they were last year. So the Rangers should be a bubble team. Definitely. I don't think they're a playoff lock at all. But I do think they are going to be competing right there. This should be way better than last season. Considering, hey, let's talk in the perspective of them. Hey, we've got a lot of aging players here. We got to think long term. We got to think young. We got to think our franchise is in shambles. We have not won a cup in so long. We have to get better and we have to improve. And I think that's why the Rangers, that's why I think they have to think of that. So the Rangers, they can't seem to find consistency, and I think they are just right on the bubble. For the Ottawa Senators, oh boy, Ottawa having a really good year last year, made the playoffs finally, and I think the Ottawa Senators, I'm proud to say I do think Ottawa is definitely a playoff lock. At least of right now, yeah. The Ottawa Senators are a great team. They got good young talent. They're a hard and physical team. And they just got good talent, and they're coming. They're on the uprising, and Ottawa should be a playoff lock right now. Philadelphia, I mean, I really don't have to say much, y'all. Philadelphia develops talent so horribly. I mean, this is my perspective. Connor Bedard went to Philadelphia. He'd have been a Nolan Patrick. Flyers develop talent so horribly. And I know Matvei Michkov is one of the oddballs out there that actually became good for the Flyers. And he should be a pretty good asset for them. But don't get your hopes up, Philly. You're still in a rebuilding state, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't think Philly. I think they don't need to think long term here. I think they need to focus on the future. I think they need to focus right now. Upgrade your team. Build the team you want right now, and worry about greatness later. Build your team right now to the best possible team you can have. So go ahead and do that. You can worry about playoff hopes later. Focus on your team that is in shambles right now. The Pittsburgh Penguins, a dynasty that is long gone. Sidney Crosby, old. Evgeny Malkin getting old. Brian Rust getting old. It is an old team. And the Pittsburgh Penguins dynasty is over. I'm not saying Pittsburgh's the worst team out there, but I definitely don't think they're the best. They're one of the best teams out there. And I think, I do actually think Pittsburgh is in a rebuilding state. They're getting old, and they need to focus on their young prospects here. They're similar to Philadelphia. They're very similar. San Jose Sharks. Oh boy, San Jose. Another horrible year last year. It sucks for them. But I don't think they're in a rebuilding state. I think they've got a team where if they kept consistency and they just were a team that could put up some points. I don't think they're a rebuilding team, but I do think they're a horrible team. Rebuilding is kind of its own tier, and horrible and like in shambles mixed together. And I think San Jose and Buffalo are right above that. I think they're right in the middle of it. And I think San Jose, I mean, it's a cycle. Every team gets better. The horrible teams get better. And the good teams start to die down. And some teams just don't even get any better or worse. But I definitely think San Jose could use some help. The Seattle Kraken. A disappointing year, to say the least. Seattle hired them new coach. They always go through coaches, it seems like, every year. And unfortunately for Seattle, it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. I mean, you got some players that are getting old. I mean, you got to build a young team here, considering you are a young team and you're new, and you want to set an example for new good teams. And I think that's what Seattle needs to think about. As many as other teams do. I don't think focus on Seattle playoff hopes right now. Seattle was so early on schedule in that playoff run. That was not expected at all. But I do think Seattle definitely gets better. I'm going to put them right below the bubble. They ain't going to be horrible, but they ain't going to be great either. They're going to be a team that's developing, and I think they're a team that should not focus on how they've been in shambles for the past few years. And I think they're focusing on a team to start getting into that stage of, are we going to make the playoffs? So that's where I'm putting Seattle. The St. Louis Blues, oh boy, St. Louis, a great team. A really underrated team last year, made the playoffs. They bested Calgary by just a little bit. And I think St. Louis is a bubble team. I can't put them in playoff lot. They have some consistency they work on. St. Louis almost upset Winnipeg, but they blew it. But I don't think that's going to stop them. I think St. Louis has good potential. I think they've got it right there, and I think they're going to try to pursue that. I don't think they're going to be a great team. They're definitely going to be a good enough team to potentially make the playoffs. So, I don't have them in playoff luck, but I do have them in the bubble. Tampa Bay Lightning. My Tampa Bay Lightning, boys. My Tampa Bay Lightning. They're basically in shambles right now. I'm sorry, but I'm going to put the Lightning in the playoff luck. I think our team is sticking around for a pretty good long time if you keep your core. Losing to Florida for the second straight year in a row in the first round. Losing 3 straight years in the first round, basically. It's tough. And Tampa, they got to improve on consistency. They got to improve on playoff consistency, especially. And it's really going to start becoming, our team is getting old. Our team is starting to die down. We're not the same dynastic team we used to be, and that's Florida. That's Florida now. So I mean, that's what Tampa has to focus on, and I think they are I think they're still a playoff lot, but they need to be careful because age is starting to get to Tampa. Unfortunately for my team. All right. The Toronto Maple Leafs. Oh boy, another year of shambles. Now it seems like they're never going to get past the second round. First round isn't becoming too much of a problem for them anymore. But it's the same old teams that keep catching them. And I think Toronto is playoff luck. I can't put them in cup contender anymore. I know I did that with that one ranking 2 years ago. But Toronto, I mean, yeah, Toronto is not a team you should be considering for the cup. I will say this. Toronto is definitely a cup contending roster. As a team, not so much. That's why they're only a playoff lock, because Toronto, they can't keep consistency in the playoffs. A lot of these teams that are only playoff locks can't keep consistency in the playoffs. That's why they're only playoff locks. You could have so many more cup contenders here, but most of these playoff teams cannot keep consistency. So that's why Toronto's only in the playoff lock. I'm not going to believe it till I see it until they're in the cup final. The Vancouver Canucks, after a heck of a season the season before last year, a disappointing one this year. I mean, that they were close to it. They couldn't get past. And I think, what the heck? What's wrong with this thing? Vancouver, a bubble team. I'm going to politely say that. There's not much to say about Vancouver, except that they might be losing a lot of their good players. And that's basically what you all got to say about Vancouver to really put an analysis on them. They are a team that should be good, but has some off-ice issues. So there's not much to say about Vancouver. I think they're right in the bubble. They're very mid-team. Vegas Golden Knights. Oh boy. Vegas Golden Knights. That's a good team right there. And I'm putting them in the cup contenders. You thought I was only going to put them in playoff luck, huh? No, Vegas. After a few years back, they dominated the Stanley Cup final. And they showed what good a team they could have. And that team's still there, most of it. They should get some of their consistency back. And I think this team is a cup contender no matter what. They showed how good of a team they were last year in the regular season. And, I mean, the playoffs just kind of get them sometimes. But they have the experience of a Stanley Cup final run. So I think they are definitely Stanley Cup contenders right now. Oh boy. The Winnipeg Jets. Connor Hellebuyck is all I gotta say for you not to be Cup contenders. I'm getting tired of people glazing the Winnipeg Jets. They do not think about Connor Hellebuyck and goaltending. They do not think about the defense there. And they do not think about stopping goals. I'm tired of people glazing Winnipeg. They're definitely not Cup contenders as long as they got Connor Hellebuyck being a total wuss in net in the playoffs. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Winnipeg. But I'm sorry. I'm trying to be realistic here. And I'm sorry, Connor Hellebuyck, if you're somehow saying this. But I'm sorry. You have to improve in the playoffs to show your team that you're a true Cup contender. That team is a Cup contender, but not the goal. And that's why Winnipeg is not a Cup contender. Moving on, we only have 2 teams left. Wow, what a video this has been. It's taken a long time. The Utah Mammoth, a new team. Well, not a new team, but it is a new team. Move team, but a new name. Utah Mammoth really came close to a playoff berth last year. But other teams bested them. And that's okay. They shouldn't get too worried because they are just a new team. I think Utah is right on the bubble. I think Utah's right there. I think they'll be right there. They basically are probably going to have the same team as they were last year. And if you get Mitch Marner, that should bump you up. A lot of chemistry. I think that's all you have to say about Utah. They are basically almost the same team they were last year, but I think they have a lot of happy morale to try to make a push for the playoffs, and I think that's what they're going to try to do. The Washington Capitals. Oh, Ovi, with one of his best years, he breaks the goal record of Gretzky, and that sends Washington into a frenzy. It sends them into definite Cup contenders, right? I don't think so. And this is what I said this year. I thought the Capitals were so beatable. I didn't get all the hype about them being Stanley Cup contenders. And it showed in the second round against Carolina. Carolina really dominated that series, honestly. Even though it went to 6 games. And the Capitals are getting old. I'm saying that about a lot of teams. And I'm sorry for hearing it. And I sometimes repeat myself. I'm sorry. I'm kind of like that. I'm sorry if you're getting annoyed by me. But Washington, they are not a dominant team. They are a team that dominates in the regular season, I'll say that. I mean, that's basically what I have to say, guys. I mean, thanks for watching the video. It was a long video, I know, but definitely thank you for watching. It was a good video. I liked to make it. I wanted to make it long as possible to talk about each team. So thank you for watching, and hope you subscribe. I'm just kidding, guys.